Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chris the High Guy Jacobs, and today we're taking a look at Doomsday Last Survivors. Basically what it means to be in a good region or in a good alliance. Let's take a look at some details of a healthy region. First and foremost, let's talk about your ranking. Every alliance has a 4 individual rank system. You have the leader, who can appoint 8 positions to his rank 4, which you'd consider his closest, his ensemble, if you will. And then you have open ranks throughout the rest. Now, some people put a lot of value in their importance in the alliance based on these ranks. But I'll be really honest with you, for a lot of situations, it doesn't matter. They're used more as a situation, as an ability, pardon me, to let the leaders, for example, know how active players are. So I'll give you an idea how we run ours. In our alliance currently, we have myself who's leading. I have my R4s. Currently, some of them are visiting in Ensol still. We're still moving back from Island Raid. We were visiting them, which again shows you a healthy region, and I'll explain why. And then you have your R3s. Your R3 is, to me, is your core of the alliance. The rank 3 player is the one who's going to be reading all the mails, who's going to participate in chat, who's going to be active in events, right? It's the kind of player that you want to have more of, right? Those are the kind of players you want to focus on. Those are the ones that get rewards. They're the ones that get you know, they're the ones that are active in the alliance. They're pretty much your bread and butter. Those are the players that you want. To us, for me, rank 2 is more of the silent player, and I'm a little biased here, but I very much know that this game is not just a war game, it's also a social game. So there is an element to reading alliance mails, participating in chat, and all of that kind of thing. And if you don't read alliance mails and you're missing communications and you don't participate in your chat, so you're missing communications, it can be very hindering to the alliance. So typically, rank 2 is the players who are more, like, they might participate, right? They'll be active for things like Antipede and Pompeii, but let's say they don't necessarily clean all of their nodes, they don't chat all the time, maybe they'll say hi and then kind of bail out. They don't respond to mails very often. You have to mail them a couple of times. So they're not necessarily bad players, but they're kind of ones that, you know, need a little bit of a push to really get to that stage of being one of those ideal players. And then rank 1 to me is anybody who just doesn't do any of it. Those are people who don't read, who've been absent from the game. They don't log in. They're basically just here to farm and leave. They don't chat. They don't participate. They do nothing. So they're viable to be kicked out of the alliance when they're needed to be kicked out for space or whatever. Okay? Now, once you understand that, there's a very important thing to realize. There is almost no difference between what each rank can do. Between rank 1, 2, and 3, there's almost no difference. The only thing is sending alliance mail. Right? So it's not like if you're an R3, you get somehow so many more capabilities. They're really just used as a situation, like I said, to determine how active somebody is, how casual, like how competitive somebody is, how casual somebody is, and how ignorant somebody is. And I don't necessarily mean ignorant in a negative sense, more like they're just not paying attention. They just don't know. Right? The big difference comes in your R4. That's why you only have 8 R4 positions. They're the ones that pretty much get to do everything that a leader can, besides appoint officers, right? So putting someone into here, disbanding the alliance, they can't do that, and editing alliance info, they can't do that, or demolishing alliance buildings. Okay? And then the leader can do everything except leave. I just can't leave. I have to pass on the position before I leave, right? But again, there is no real difference between rank 1 and rank 3 in regards to capabilities, and there's no buffs for being a rank 3 to rank 2, rank 1. The buffs come once you get to rank 4, they have officer positions. Now, these officer positions provide attribute buffs. Food gathering speed, wood gathering speed, steel gathering speed, right? But you have things like here, research speed plus 2%, training speed plus 2%, attack and defense plus 1%, resource and gathering speed 10%, building and research an extra 1%. So these are simple buffs that you can use and you can pass around. Even in our alliance, we've done it. We kind of have a rotating group of R4s. And we'll pass those buffs around to who needs them, who's doing research or who's doing builds and things like that. That's kind of one of the determinations of a healthy alliance. How much do you trust the players that you have? Put them in those quote-unquote important roles and, you know, basically test them. We've tested our metal a lot. But those are simple buffs that you can start using if you have a healthy alliance. If you're not an alliance that does that, you know, maybe suggest looking at one that does, or suggesting that your alliance starts to do that. After that, after those buffs, we have the main buffs in the game, and these ones are pretty powerful. Now, once you understand the premise of how the game works in regards to, you know, Zone 1, Zone 2, Zone 3, and the Metropolis, which I've also done a video on the basics already, I'll link that in the description, you'll understand that there are regional buffs and title buffs that come in the game. As soon as the Metropolis is captured, the president is allowed to give out these law enforcement positions and these council positions, which all come with buffs. The president gets a squad attack and a training speed buff. First Lady gets a gathering and a resource production buff. Marshal gets a squad and attack buff. Prime Minister gets construction and research buffs. Chief of Staff gets a training speed buff. And then you have 4 council positions. Training speed plus 10, construction speed plus 10, research speed plus 10, squad attack speed plus 5. So if you're in a healthy region, I mean, you have the capability to basically pass on, the president can basically pass on 8 different buffs to allow everybody to grow. Now, what most regions will do that I've at least visited or been a part of or talked about, things like that, they will share regional buffs. So this is a very common thing to have happen. But if you find yourself in a region that doesn't, maybe look for a new region. Because let me explain what I mean. These 4 law enforcement positions, the First Lady, Marshal, Prime Minister, and Chief of Staff, are allowed to give out the instructor, the engineer, the professor, and the scavenger. So you can now take, we just talked about an R4 buff, let's say the R4 research speed buff, plus 2%. The professor gives you a plus 10%, so now we're talking about plus 12%. Additional research speed, just totally for free. Okay? What we do in our region, you post your coordinates in chat, in the regional chat, you tell us what buff you need, we give you that buff. You use your, you know, you start your research, your construction, or your training, and then you don't need the buff anymore. Now, if you didn't hear that correct, it said exactly what I wanted it to say. You don't need that buff after you start the research, construction, or training. You only need it when you start, okay? Because it takes the time off, the overall time, when you click start, okay? So that's the only time you need it. So you can start to stack that. 2% from being an R4, plus an extra 10% here, right? Let's keep that in mind. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're also not in a healthy one, they might start using these debuffs. And especially if you're a problem in your region, they might start using these debuffs. And this is kind of annoying. Negative gathering speed, negative healing speed, negative attack speed, or negative attack damage and defense. That's kind of annoying. If you're not in a healthy region, or if you're in a healthy or in a region that uses these like regularly, probably not in a healthy region. We don't use these very often. Only when we have players who stop in who are trolls or who don't care about the region themselves or region itself and only care about themselves, or you know, anything to that effect. It's never something that we just give out willy-nilly. These aren't just given around to people. They're very, very specific. However, these ones are given to whoever needs them because we want everyone the opportunity to grow. So we've already talked about reaching 12%. Then we have the Federation buff. This is where owning the region yourself or owning the Metropolis gets to be expensive. Okay? Because the president now has access to these Federation buffs as well. A building upgrade speed buff, a research speed buff, trading speed buff, heal speed, resource production. And these buffs provide this buff effectively to everybody in the region. This is to the whole Federation. Which basically means for 2,000 gems, which is what they cost, they can give every single player in their region a construction speed buff of plus 10%. So, or a research speed plus 10%. So if you calculate the other one, we had plus 12% already. This is another plus 10%. So we're looking at 22% bonus. This is free speed ups, folks. All you need to do is be aware of when you do your research, training, or construction. And to think, most of these events, like Island Raid or Genesis War or Archipelago Raid, have curios to pick up. Like an additional 10% research speed. So you can stack that up to 32%, which, when you take into consideration that some of the late game research can take hundreds of days, you take an additional 32% of those 100, you're taking literal weeks off. You see what I'm saying? Like it becomes very efficient to grow your account much faster, especially as a free-to-play player. So I hope if you're not in a healthy region, currently, you find one. Just saying, Region 474, Alliance GROP if you want to play with me. But that's not the point. The point is, find yourself a good region that allows you to grow as a player and as an alliance in the proper ways. Okay? Then we also have this here, and this is also a common, well, maybe not a common thing. I don't really know. Typically, when the regions that I've played, they never really gave these out very often. But in our region, we've decided we want to share these among the top 3 alliances who basically run the region, right? So in our alliance, or in our region, for example, the president will give these 8 to their alliance and then split the common loot between the 2 other alliances, right? So in our situation, we give 5 people, right, who get rewards. NSOL gives 5 people who get rewards, and then TNAD gets these 8. When GROP will own the Metro, we'll get those 8, and we'll give 5 and 5 of the common loot. This way it's fair. This is an easy way for everyone to get some, and for everyone to have, to feel special. Because let's be honest, especially as a free-to-play player, do you have any idea how encouraging it is to all of a sudden wake up and have an additional thank you in your mailbox just for playing the game and being cool? Like it can be so powerful to someone who doesn't ever put money in. And it's not even, like, don't get me wrong, the common loot is nice, right? You get some badges, you get 12-hour speed up, which is great, 200 gems, which is okay. But just to get recognized like this in a game where, it's a wonderful thing. So if you can get these gifts out to players, you want that happening in your region. Now, in my alliance, for example, I don't give common loot to the same people twice until everyone gets common loot. And then I give these ones out to the players who I think deserve it, who have shown really what it means to be a GRO member, like a GROP member. They show up every week. They show up every day. They're farming lots. They're chatting lots. They read every mail. They're positive in chat. They're always looking towards pushing people to be better. All of the best aspects that I want a player to be. That's who's going to get these ones. But make sure you find an alliance or a region that actually shares these buffs, because this loot is pretty good. If you look at the legendary loot, that's 1,000 gems. 2 days of speed ups for free. Doesn't cost anything. 600 gems. A day and a half of speed ups. Right? Get these shared, in my opinion, anyway. Now, that's really what it comes down to when it comes to buffs. We've talked about the R4 buffs that you get, regional buffs, title buffs, the loot boxes, even the debuffs if you're a D-bag. But let's be real. It all comes down to 2 simple things. How healthy is your alliance, and how healthy is your region? If you're not in a healthy alliance, take your friends and get out of there. Because pardon me. Take your friends and get out of there. There are so many choices and great alliances that are out there. I meet new alliances every single event with really, really cool people. So you have no real reason to be stuck in a bad region, in a bad alliance, in a bad situation. You can change that. And visas are very easy. They're cheap. They're only 99 cents. Right? If you honestly can't earn them, go down in here into premium packs. All the way to the right, unobstructed access, 99 gold. That's 99 American cents. They're not expensive. So you can always find those visas to get out of trouble if you need to. Okay? But that's it, guys. That's all I have for a video for you today. I really appreciate you spending the time. If you've gotten to this point already, I'm going to leave a little bit of a teaser for you. My next video, or my next big drop on Saturday, we are starting a 7-part series where we're taking a deep dive into all of the armaments individually. This has been one of my most requested series to start because there are tons of armaments to choose, and there are, we want to know kind of which and tons of attributes, pardon me, to put on them. So I'm going to start a deep dive 7-part series starting this coming Saturday, dropping at 4:20, which I'm really, really looking forward to. Now, if you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Comment down below, what you thought. Comment down below something that maybe a question that you have yourself that you'd like to know about the game. And other than that, guys, have yourselves a great day. Love, peace, chicken grease. And for everybody else, stay lifted.